Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of City Skylines with me, CityZilla. And we are actually going to start a new series on this one. I've been kind of playing around with some other cities, and I really wanted to do this whole grid thing to the max. And something unique that I'm going to do is a little bit bigger grids. So I actually grew up in Las Vegas, and in Las Vegas, they have grids, but they're quite a bit bigger than a lot of grids you see in Europe or really dense cities. They're actually really big. It would take probably about 10 to 15 minutes just to walk from one block to the other. But one of the interesting things about it is that the grid runs perfectly north to south. And so it's actually really easy for you to navigate. And that was one of the goals of them creating the grid like that. And so what we're going to focus on with this city is creating a grid that makes sense. So if you were to be driving the streets, you'd be able to navigate a little easier just off of the flow, the consistency, the size of the blocks, the direction of the streets. And so that's something that we're going to focus on. And so we're going to start off by doing that little road. I want to make sure that this 4 lane that I'm going to put down is going to be as close to the middle as possible. It's kind of weird. I'm using one of the vanilla maps. I believe it's called River Run, and it's kind of funny because you can see how this is one of their first maps, and if you look at like the interchanges, they're just kind of a little funny. They're not designed very well, and so as we expand the city, we're definitely going to have to fix some of these. Like you can see with this, like there's just no curve with that. They're straight on. I mean, it's probably not bad, but it would force the cars to brake a little more for this, and so whenever it comes to interchanges, the goal is to try to not cause people to brake suddenly, and so we are going to start off by placing this in the middle of this, and this is an odd number separation, so we got to kind of figure it out. All right, and so I'm not going to get really crazy with this first setup. I just want to lay out a basic foundation for the grid. And so I'm just going to start off with that. And what we're going to do is create like some main streets, just some areas where you have all your shopping and people can walk around. And it's just really centralized rather than kind of sporadic. And this is twofold. It helps with traffic as you expand the city to have things more centralized, but then also it's going to make it a little easier for the industrial to get to rather than having to kind of weave in and out of streets. And you guys will see as we build the city out, we'll kind of go over a lot of the advantages of having bigger blocks like this. Like one of the big ones is bus lines and tram lines and metros and stuff like that. It's just a lot easier to lay them down, and then we're actually going to be building out some neighborhoods. And so again, in Vegas, Vegas is a newer city, and so a lot of my experience in city planning comes from just watching Vegas evolve as I grew up. And so I remember growing up and there being a bunch of empty lots everywhere. And so that's one thing that I kind of bring into this city is, so as a city expands, it's not just going to expand square by square by square by square all the way out. No, they're developers, and developers are buying parcels of land and developing it into high density residential, low density residential, commercial, industrial, whatever it's been zoned. And so we're really going to try to dive into this whole developer mentality of building neighborhoods or building special districts, and they all kind of are going to have their own little unique flair based off of the developer. And so to start off, what we're going to do, so I'm just going to lay those down, and then I'm going to go over to dirt roads, and I want to come over here, and I don't need to get crazy with it just yet, but we are going to be trying to follow a certain pattern here. And so I want to come out here, but then I want this one to kind of match up with it. But I want to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and I want to come over 4. And then I'm going to come down and just match it up. Bam, first little neighborhood. And so one of the things I'm going to try to do with this is create in the middle these kind of open spaces where we're going to put parks or libraries or elementary schools. And this is something that you definitely see with neighborhoods a lot. There was a big movement in the 20th century in America where the government actually encouraged developers to create neighborhoods centered around elementary schools. And that was just because it made it a little easier for people to navigate, to get to. And so as a result, there are a ton of neighborhoods where the elementary school is in the middle of this huge neighborhood, a lot of times much bigger than this, but with the school right in the middle. And I actually went to an elementary school that was like that. It was in a neighborhood. It wasn't on a major street. Whereas high schools tend to be on major streets, and so we are going to focus on that. But then another thing I'm going to do with these neighborhoods is use a style of grid called a fused grid. And so what that is the use of incomplete streets and cul-de-sacs. And the reason for that is we are going to be promoting walking as much as possible. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to make it easier for somebody to walk than for them to drive. And so what we're going to be doing is creating these nice little areas where once we have paths available, we are going to connect paths up to them. And so, and this, it's kind of twofold too. It helps with traffic. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Barcelona's use of superblocks, but it basically is to get rid of through traffic. And so you only have necessary traffic entering into a neighborhood. And the reason for that was to cut back on noise pollution. They did a big study in Barcelona on how much noise pollution was in the average neighborhood and whether they could get to a reasonable amount. And they came to the conclusion that nowhere in the city were you within an area that it was safe noise pollution levels. And so their solution was to cut off roads and create public spaces. And it's actually really cool. You can look it up, but they created streets like this where it's kind of like a park open space where cars don't have precedence on them. And a lot of times they have like benches and chairs and like tables and flowers and stuff out. It's really cool. It kind of creates these public spaces for people to enjoy the neighborhood a little more and promote walking. And there's actually been a lot of good that has came out of it. Though initially there was a ton of pushback on a few of the neighborhoods, but we're going to try to implement some of those strategies with the use of these neighborhoods. So we're going to be building these neighborhoods around pedestrians. And another thing you might notice I'm doing right now is I'm only going to be zoning these 2x blocks. And now by doing this, you can get a 3x2, or I don't think there's a 4x2, but what I'm really looking for is just the 2x2s. They're single family homes. Whenever you do the 4x4, you don't get single family homes. You get multifamily homes. And it's kind of funny because they call it low density residential, but it's really not. When it's a 4x4, it's actually high density. It's not low density, and so that's kind of one of the funny things about this game. But it also makes it a little easier to expand when you do these 2x spaces. They don't work as well as the other ones do. When kind of messed up on this, we're gonna have to delete this when you're trying to expand the city, and so we'll kind of see it as we expand out. What I wanted to do. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's an odd, so I need to go one more. It looks like. I think we're stuck with that. So. Yeah. I was hoping to get more even blocks here, but it looks as though I kind of messed up somewhere along the way and created this section of 5 and then this section of 1, and so we actually have a little bit of an offset here. I don't know if I created this correctly. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm just a little shy of 4, and I should have done that road first, and so we'll just roll with it. But on the next one, we'll go ahead and fix that because we're just gonna have some empty space in here. But that's all right. Yeah, I mean we'll just put some trees and stuff. It'll be all right. And so I think that is pretty good for our first little residential area. And so we're just gonna do. I'm just gonna do an industrial area now. I'm not gonna get fancy with this. Just gonna do a 4x2. One of the hardest things in this game is managing traffic, especially when your population increases. And one of the biggest issues with that is the amount of trucks that these industrial spaces generate. And so you kind of want to limit how many zoned residential, zoned industrial you stick into one area. And so we're going to be kind of spreading it out just so that we don't get it all in one area. Though, as we expand, we're going to be bringing the grid over the freeway and creating multiple entrances and exits. So it's not really going to be too difficult, but you just want to pay attention to it. It's really easy in this game to get caught up in the initial planning stage and to not really think about how the city's going to operate when you have 50,000 or 60,000 population. And then a lot of times you just end up having to give up on a city because the traffic is so bad and you just didn't plan it. It's part of the learning curve, and getting good at the game. And so what we're going to do is zone our commercial right here. And because we're planning on putting in paths, I really want to remember to leave these blank just so I don't have to delete commercial spaces later. And then I'm going to go ahead and zone around the outsides as well. I don't think it's going to fill up that space. But we are going to still put paths around this side, and then I want to put a path down the middle. And then what I'm going to do is put walking paths in between here. It looks really nice, especially as you expand the city. And so I think we're pretty good. We got electrical. I set up the power lines. Did I do? No, I did. I didn't hook this up, though. That could have been bad. Sewage is necessary. And so we got our zoning. I need to not forget to put some of that in. And then I think we can pause. Let's see our first citizens. And then if you guys want to participate, let's go ahead and come up with a name. Right now it's just Rockwood. We got this cool little river, some green space. I don't know if you guys want to just come up with something cool. I know in the city Skylines community, it's pretty popular to have you guys involved, and so I would love you guys to come up with some ideas, as well as the district names, and we'll kind of be coming up with some cool little areas, and so you guys will have an opportunity to participate. Feel free to leave any suggestions in the comments. And so let's got our first little area coming together. I'm just going to go ahead and let this run for a second, just so that the electrical can connect, and then we can get our first couple citizens. And it looks like our first car is a bulldozer bringing the coal to our power plant, which is important before any workers or anybody shows up. And then we get our first, looks like it's a delivery. Okay, yep, we got cars coming in. Nice. Welcome to Rockwood. And so we just got to let this run for a second, get some population going so that we can start placing down our first services. and then begin to plan out our first expansion. All right, so we got our first unlock, which gives us a couple services that we need to place. Let's go ahead and place this guy down. And I think what I'm going to do is put him right here. And I think I'm going to put it in our commercial area. And then we did unlock the elementary school, though we just got to wait for the 10,000. But we do need to put down our first landfill. These are super important. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put it in the front. Landfills, recycle centers, any of the trash services generate quite a bit of traffic with their little trucks. And so you kind of want to give them easy access. You don't want them tucked way down with a bunch of turns and intersections. Okay. Can also jam up our taxes. We want to make sure to make some money. And that should start generating some decent cash, enough for us to at least place the elementary school, which is really what we want to do. Okay, and so I want to continue using this road. Don't need to go that far out. I think that's probably good right there. We'll continue putting this out as well. I'm going to go ahead and just take our first loan, just so we can place it at elementary school and then continue laying out our basic grid. And so what I want to do is put the elementary school right there. And I think I might have maybe made this square just a little too big, but we'll see, because if we can put a library in there, that would be good. So let's go ahead. I don't think it needs to be that big. I think that's probably good right there. And so that's probably the basic size of our grid. We're kind of going down the hill now. It's alright though. It is alright. So we want to go in the middle. Actually, I want to make sure that we are we're good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Let's put this in the middle. And then I think this one will do a little smaller. Do 1.5. Just because we already got the elementary school down, and so I'm not really going to need to place another elementary school in this one, but we still will want to put in a park. Green spaces are important, and so we're going to do that, and then just come up here and do that as well. Oops. Do not want to do that. So here we go. It's a little bumpy, but as we build out, it'll soften out. And we just need to put these water pipes. We can fill in the rest of these now that they've all built out. We still want to leave those spaces for the walking paths there. You know what, we'll just put the little 1x1s here. It's better than having nothing. Okay, and so that is our initial layout. We have to wait until some of the houses come in to be able to fill in the rest. It's one of the things with this, if you fill in all the spaces in, become the bigger homes. And this way, this is where you actually get single family homes, which is something that you would see in a neighborhood like this. Whenever you do the 4x4s, you get more high res, which is kind of weird because the game has it set up where it's low res. But you end up getting a lot of duplexes and townhomes and buildings that are made for multiple families rather than single family homes like this. And so this is why I try to build out neighborhoods like this. It's just a lot cleaner, neater, a little more organic. And if we're to assume that a new city is, coming out of nowhere, a new city is being built, then it would be built by developers with the intention of selling homes. And so what is the appeal? Why are people going to move here? And so we can imagine people are moving from any major metropolitan area. We could even say, another creator city. For some reason it's, the traffic is too much or the congestion. Maybe they want to be in a new area with less population. Who knows? But for some reason people are moving here. And so one of the things that we're going to try to appeal to is, that the neighborhood vibe, really clean. We're going to, once we get landscaping and paths in, we're going to really be putting down some trees and stuff, and we're going to make everything look really good. This is something that, town planners have to take into account when planning out cities is future uses, the best uses for the city, and stuff like that. And so, 1, 2, 3. So it looks like it's 2 shy of 6. So there we go, and that way we can actually get some uniformity here. Kind of get the blocks the same size. We're going to be limited here, but it's alright. And I want to put this on normal. It's going to do it anyways. And so whenever we get to spaces like this, I want to try and make it appealing. I mean, it's a coast. We can assume that it'd be a nice little drive, and so 1, 2, yeah, there you go. It's gonna bug me if it's not right. There you go. And so that's good. Now we got this nice little coastal drive, and we'll probably continue it up. Yeah. That way our grid has a nice organic area to end. And so, I didn't even realize we got these unlocks. Emergency services. They're pretty important. So put one there. We'll put one across the street. Oh, it looks like we don't have enough money. I'm going to go ahead and take out this next loan and place our police department across the street. Remember, we're still going to be putting in these paths, and so I don't want to fill in these spaces. Once we get paths available, then we will be filling those in, as well as parks. Oh, nice. So like right now. And so we got parks, and so I want to put this guy right there, and I want to put one over here as well. And then let's go ahead and do the paths as well. So I'm going to turn off snapping. And there we go. Looks like our neighborhoods are already building out pretty good. We still got to figure out what we're going to do with this space. It's a little too big, but maybe we'll... if we could fit a library in there, that would be great. We got a pretty high demand for industrial, so I think we're going to go ahead and expand this over here. We don't want to break our little grid though, so you know what? I think we're going to be forced to. We're going to try to jimmy this in here. We can make one connection over here. You don't want to have too many connections onto these main roads, but having a couple is always good. So like we got this connection and this connection, and so it's not going to be too much, but then we also provide just more access, and so people have an alternative way out. And so I think we will probably follow this guy out and then come up here and then just create another access point, and then that allows us some more space to put in some more industrial. So we don't want to get crazy. Remember I said that I'm not going to fill up this whole area, and so I think that's pretty good. That should hopefully satisfy our needs. Maybe not though. We do need some commercial, so I think we're just going to go ahead and zone on this. Down here, down there. And then let's go ahead. It looks like our demand for industry is still going to be pretty high. So I think we will build this out. Then we'll just put another industrial area over here. And then my plan is to expand the city out this way, but we'll see as we go, but we're probably going to end up putting another freeway entrance over here. And so we'll have a little better access. We'll come up here, we'll go in the middle. So this way we actually leave this space open for some more commercial. You can kind of see a pattern emerging here, where the insides of these grids are for residential and then the main streets are for the commercial. We are going to go ahead and add in some highways though, which will not have any zoning on them. But for right now, I think we are just going to stick with what we got. I think we might actually turn this one, because it's kind of close to the highway and it'll run parallel to it. I think it would be really good if we turned this into a highway. And so I think we're going to do that. And get rid of that guy, and then we'll just create access over here. And don't want a path, I want a road. And there we go, and that way we don't have any neighborhoods coming in off of that road, which kind of set this up for it to be resident, for it to be commercial on this road, but we're not going to be doing that. So you know what, we're going to come back here because I want to be able to zone that, but I don't want it to be too close to the road. And so I think right there would probably make the most sense. Yeah, there you go. At least now we got another row of homes. We will, let's see if we even unlocked the highway yet. We have not. So 2600, we're almost there. But we'll make this a main highway, and so that way somebody who's over here who needs to get to the other side as we expand doesn't need to come all the way down to the freeway. They can just take this highway down. And so we won't zone on it. We'll actually place down some separate paths around the outside, since there are no sidewalks on highways as well. And then that way we can keep this going as commercial and this going as commercial. And then we can just keep building neighborhoods in here. And then as we get into high density, we'll start putting in some more unique kind of neighborhoods within the grids. And so, but for right now, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to unpause it again. I want to go ahead and just create a cool little path in here. So that way there's some more walking where they don't need to be on the sidewalk. So we're going to start utilizing some regular roads first off, but then some of the regular low density residential. Don't want to ruin our setup here, and so I think what we're 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I mean, those are close. I think we will shift this over by 1. Yeah, we'll just go right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. That way we can still keep the basic shape of our neighborhood. This commercial area over here is not going to be as nice as over here as with the space, so there'll definitely be a little more noise pollution, but I think it's going to be okay. So there we go. We got space for another elementary and then a nice public library. But then also we will put a park in here. We'll just move that over and put it right next to it. You definitely see parks normally near schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, junior highs, whatever you call it. There's normally some sort of public space associated with the school. And then so this one we are just going to utilize the regular low low density zoning, and the reason is we want to start getting some bigger homes in here. If we continue to just use the small ones, and our population is going to climb at a really slow rate. We still are going to try to keep the aesthetic qualities of the smaller neighborhoods, but okay, one, two. That should be good right there for right now. We are going to zone it. And so here we go. And I think we're even going to, since this space is largely not being utilized that much, I think we're going to come in here and just put in a few more roads so that we can zone the rest of this. There you go. And that way we can still get these two spaces. And even I think we'll probably put these in. Be some nice homes on the backside of that park and the school. And there we go. I think that unlocked our road, so now we can upgrade this to our highway. And so I want to just do, yeah, the 4-lane, two-way highway. Nothing too fancy. This is going to give our residents another access point. It's higher speed. It doesn't have zoning on it. There's no sidewalks, and so a lot of the cars will prefer this route as long as it still brings them to their destination rather than coming up here to the highway. And so this is one of the ways that you can prevent traffic from building up. One of the downsides to it, though, is you do lose sidewalks, and so you got to just make sure to put them in. And there we go. We can unpause it, let this fill up. You can kind of already see people taking this road. It does like having the light in the middle, but there's not really a lot we can do for that. And as long as they're big enough spaces between the intersections, then you should be okay. You don't want to have a highway like this with local road connections or intersections that are just too close together. It just kind of defeats the purpose. And so we're going to go in here and just make sure that everything's set up. So we're going to click. What that does is just make sure that the turn signals are the correct way rather than having these weird continues. And there you go. It gives the left turn lane a designated lane. I think this is already set up. I'm gonna go ahead and just make sure. A lot of times you can prevent bad traffic from ever happening just by making sure that the connections are good. So I'm going to redo that map. It just didn't look that great. And there you go. That's a little better. It still looks a little wonky in here. You know what? I think we're going to fix that. This is going to bother me. So I want to just get rid of that. And then we will just put this in here. That way, I mean, it's straight. There we go. That looks a little better. Add in a connection. And there we go. It's looking pretty good. Okay, and so I think that is a good place to stop for the first episode. I think we got a lot done. If you guys have any suggestions, just let me know. Again, I want to try and have community involvement as best I can. It looks like we are actually about to have a little bit of a death wave, and so I'm just going to go ahead and place this guy. I'm going to place it randomly. You know what? I think we're going to end up making this some sort of use area down here, and so I'll go ahead and place it right there. And then next episode, we'll kind of build this out, probably do a park. Since it's right next to the river, it'd be a really nice area. And then we still have this freeway connection over here, so we'll probably incorporate this somehow. Um, but again, if you guys have any ideas, just let me know. And then we still got to name it. Right now, it's just Rockwood. Go ahead and give me some suggestions. Maybe we'll vote on it. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Thanks for watching, though, and I'll catch you on the next one.